I was standing in the guest bedroom of my boyfriend's parents' house, barefoot on a cold wooden floor, staring at his phone like it was about to explode. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The screen lit up again, and again. One message, 3 words. Babe, I miss you. In that moment, I didn't just realize I was being cheated on. I realized my entire relationship had been a carefully rehearsed lie, and I was the only one who didn't know the script. If you've ever trusted someone with your whole heart, only to find out they were playing you the entire time, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me until the end. Because this isn't just a cheating story. This is a revenge story, and the ending is deeply, beautifully satisfying. Check Dwayne. Met him about a year before all of this happened. He was charming in that effortless way, the kind of guy who didn't try too hard because he didn't have to. He remembered small details, sent good morning texts, held doors open, listened when I talked about my bad days. He made me feel chosen, safe, seen. And when you've been through relationships where you always felt like an option, that kind of attention feels intoxicating. We built a routine together. Weeknight dinners, lazy Sundays, inside jokes that only made sense to us. He talked about the future casually, like it was obvious we were heading there together. Trips we'd take, places we'd live, holidays with family. And when he invited me to spend Thanksgiving with his parents for the first time, I saw it as a milestone. Proof that I wasn't just a girlfriend, I was the girlfriend. His family lived a few hours away. We decided to drive separately because of work schedules, but I didn't think twice about it. If anything, it felt mature, independent, normal. When I arrived, his mom hugged me like she'd known me for years. His dad joked about football. The house smelled like roasted turkey and cinnamon. It felt warm, solid, real. Dinner went perfectly. We laughed, we shared stories. His parents talked about him like he was the golden boy, hardworking, loyal, kind. I remember smiling and thinking, yeah, that's him. That's my boyfriend. I felt proud, lucky. I went to bed that night believing I had finally chosen right. The next morning started quietly. Soft light through the curtains, the muffled sound of the shower running down the hall. I reached for my phone, but it wasn't on the nightstand. Then I noticed his phone, face down on the dresser. It vibrated. Once, twice, again. The sound felt louder than it should have in that quiet room. I wasn't the type to snoop. I had never gone through a partner's phone before. Trust had never been something I questioned with him. But something about the way it kept buzzing made my stomach tighten. Like my body knew before my brain was willing to accept it. Another vibration. The screen lit up. Babe, I miss you. The air left my lungs. My hands went cold. I stared at the message, hoping I was misreading it, hoping there was some explanation that didn't involve my heart being ripped out of my chest. The number wasn't saved. No name. Just those 3 words sitting there like a loaded weapon. I remember whispering, "No, no, no, no," under my breath, like if I said it enough times, reality would correct itself. The shower was still running. My heart was racing. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I just reacted. I picked up my own phone and dialed the number. It rang twice. A woman answered. Her voice was warm, familiar in a way that made my skin crawl. "Hello?" I swallowed hard. "Hi. I'm calling because this number just texted my boyfriend." There was a pause, a long one. Then she said slowly, "Wait, boyfriend?" That single word cracked everything open. We talked for nearly 20 minutes, 20 minutes that felt like hours. She didn't yell, she didn't accuse, she sounded confused, and then devastated. She told me they worked together, how he flirted with her, how he told her he was single, how he pursued her around the same time he started dating me, how they'd been together for months. Every sentence felt like a punch. My chest burned. My ears rang. My hands shook so badly I had to sit on the bed. And the worst part wasn't just that he cheated. It was realizing how effortlessly he lied to both of us. How practiced he was. How comfortable. When I hung up, I didn't cry. Not yet. I felt something colder settle in my chest. Disgust, clarity, resolve. The shower turned off. I placed his phone back exactly where it was, took a deep breath, wiped my face. When he walked into the room, towel around his waist, smiling like nothing. In the world was wrong, I smiled back, and that's when I knew. I wasn't going to scream, I wasn't going to beg, and I definitely wasn't going to leave quietly. I stayed calm in a way that even surprised me. My body felt strange, like I was operating on autopilot. My heart was still pounding, but my face was steady. I watched him move around the room like nothing had changed, like he hadn't just shattered 2 women's lives before breakfast. He smiled at me while pulling on his jeans and said something casual, something meaningless like, "My mom's already making coffee. You ready?" And I nodded. I nodded like a woman who didn't just find out she was sharing a boyfriend with someone else. Inside, though, something was sharpening. Something quiet. Dangerous. While he turned his back to grab a shirt, I moved. Slowly. Carefully. I picked up my bag from the corner of the room. Then the overnight bag. Every movement was deliberate. Controlled. I wasn't rushing. I wasn't panicking. I was done panicking. I opened the door, stepped into the hallway, and started down the stairs with my bags, like I was just another guest heading down for breakfast. The house was alive now, dishes clinking, low conversation, the smell of coffee and eggs filling the air. It felt surreal, like walking into a scene from a movie where only I knew how it ended. His parents were already seated at the table when we came downstairs. His mom smiled warmly at me. "Good morning, sweetheart. Did you sleep okay?" she asked. I smiled back. A small one. Tight, polite. The kind of smile you give right before you detonate a bomb. My boyfriend pulled out a chair, completely unaware that the ground beneath him was about to disappear. I didn't sit. I stood there instead, my hands wrapped tightly around the straps of my bags. The room slowly went quiet. Everyone noticed. His dad paused mid-sip of coffee. His mom looked confused. My boyfriend frowned slightly, like he was trying to read my face and couldn't. I took a breath. It felt like the entire house was holding its breath with me. "I just found out your son has been cheating on me," I said. My voice didn't shake. That was the part that shocked me the most. "So I won't be staying for breakfast or any future meals." Silence slammed into the room. Thick, heavy. His mother's mouth fell open. His father set his mug down slowly, eyes narrowing. My boyfriend's face drained of color so fast it was almost impressive. He looked at me like I'd slapped him, like I'd said something insane, something unfair. "What are you talking about?" he snapped, his voice too sharp, too loud. Guilty people always get loud. I didn't look at him. I didn't need to. "I spoke to her this morning," I said calmly. "The woman you've been seeing behind my back. The one who thinks you're single." His mom gasped. Literally gasped. "Is that true?" she asked him, her voice trembling. He opened his mouth, closed it, looked at me again, panic flashing in his eyes. I saw it then, the fear. The realization that he wasn't in control anymore. "This isn't the time," he muttered, standing up, trying to lower his voice, trying to contain the damage. I met his eyes for the first time, and I smiled. "Actually," I said, "this is the perfect time." His father stood up too. "Son," he said quietly. That tone, disappointment wrapped in authority. My boyfriend looked like a child who'd been caught stealing. He didn't answer. He couldn't. The truth was too big to twist, too exposed. I picked up my bags again. "Thank you for welcoming me into your home," I said to his parents, genuinely. "I'm sorry it ends like this." And then I turned. and walked out the door. The cold air hit my face like freedom. My hands were shaking now, not from fear, from adrenaline. I got into my car, shut the door, and sat there for a moment, staring at the steering wheel. My phone buzzed instantly. His name, I declined, again and again. Then I blocked him. One click. Gone. As I pulled out of the driveway, I felt something rise up inside me. Anger. Hot. Clean. Powerful. The kind of anger that doesn't make you cry. It makes you decisive. Every mile I drove, it grew stronger. The humiliation. The lies. The months I'd spent investing in someone who didn't deserve a second of it. And then I remembered something. Something important. Months earlier, when he moved into his apartment, it had looked empty, bare, sad. I had helped him furnish it. Not because he asked, because I cared. A friend of mine had been moving out of state and gave me her living and dining room set for free. A couch, a dining table, chairs, coffee table, side tables, solid pieces, good condition. I had surprised him with it, watched his face light up. He'd hugged me, kissed my forehead, told me I was amazing. That memory made my jaw clench. By the time I reached the highway, the decision was already made. I called a friend. "Hey," I said when she answered. "Do you still have your pickup truck?" She laughed. "Of course. Why?" I smiled for the first time that day. A real smile. "How do you feel about helping me reclaim some furniture?" She didn't ask questions. She just said, "Send me the address." When we met outside his apartment later that afternoon, my heart was steady, calm, focused. I still had the spare key he'd given me months ago. Trust, he'd called it. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The apartment looked exactly how I remembered: my couch, my table, my chairs, all of it sitting there like it belonged to him. Like he hadn't built his comfort on my generosity and lies. We worked quietly, efficiently. The sound of furniture scraping against the floor echoed through the empty apartment. Piece by piece, we loaded everything into the truck. The dining table, the chairs, the couch, the coffee table, side tables. When we were done, the apartment looked hollow. Bare walls, empty space, like a physical manifestation of what he'd done to our relationship. Before I left, I stood in the doorway and took one last look. I didn't feel guilty. I felt balanced, restored. I locked the door behind me and slid the key through the mail slot. No note, no explanation. He didn't deserve one. That night, I slept for the first time in days, and for the first time since. That morning, I didn't dream about him. I woke up the next morning to silence, the kind of silence that only comes after chaos. My phone was face down on the nightstand, exactly where I'd left it, and for a split second my body reacted before my mind did. That familiar spike of anxiety, that instinct to check messages. Then I remembered. I wasn't waiting for anyone. Anymore. He was blocked. Gone. And for the first time in a long time, my chest didn't feel tight when I breathed in. That peace didn't last long. Curiosity has a way of sneaking in when the adrenaline fades. I flipped my phone over. Notifications. Not from him, from mutual friends. Missed calls. Texts that started vague and quickly turned urgent. "Are you okay? What happened yesterday? He's freaking out." I didn't reply. I didn't owe anyone an explanation yet. I needed to sit in the aftermath first. To feel it. To understand it. Because here's the thing, no one tells you about revenge. The moment after it happens isn't loud. It's quiet. Almost eerie. Like standing in the wreckage after a storm and realizing you survived. My body was tired, but my mind was sharp. Too sharp. Scenes from the last year replayed themselves with brutal clarity. Every late reply, every canceled plan, every moment I'd brushed off that uncomfortable feeling in my gut. I saw it all now. The red flags weren't subtle. I just trusted him more than I trusted myself. Around noon, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I knew it was him. He'd always find a way. New numbers, borrowed phones. Desperation makes people creative. I let it ring, then voicemail. His voice cracked through the speaker like glass. Please, just talk to me. This is all a misunderstanding. You're blowing this up. My parents won't even look at me. I need to explain. I deleted it without finishing. He didn't want to explain. He wanted control back. By the afternoon, the messages escalated. Anger replaced panic. Accusations, gaslighting. You embarrassed me. You had no right. You're overreacting. I laughed. Actually laughed. Sitting alone on my couch, I laughed at the audacity. Men who cheat always hate being exposed more than they hate betraying you. To him, the real crime wasn't lying. It was being caught. That's when I got a message that stopped me cold. It was from her, the other woman. Hey, do you have time to talk? I think we should meet. My first instinct was hesitation. Not because I was angry at her, because I was afraid of reopening wounds, afraid of hearing details I couldn't unhear, afraid of seeing myself through someone else's eyes. But another part of me knew this mattered. Closure isn't always quiet. Sometimes it's a conversation. We met at a small coffee shop halfway between our places, neutral ground. I arrived early, my hands wrapped around a warm cup I wasn't drinking. When she walked in, I recognized her instantly, not because I'd seen her before, but because she looked like me. Same tired eyes, same guarded posture, same expression of someone who'd been lied to and was still trying to process it. She smiled nervously. I stood. We hugged. And in that moment, something unexpected happened. The anger I thought I'd feel wasn't there. We talked for over 2 hours. She told me everything. How he'd pursued her relentlessly. How he complained about an emotionally distant ex, me. How he promised commitment while juggling 2 lives with surgical precision. Every detail confirmed what I already knew, but hearing it out loud did something important. It removed the last shred of self-blame. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a pattern. She cried, I cried, and then we laughed. Dark humor, survival humor, the kind you earn. By the end of it, something shifted. We weren't rivals. We were witnesses. 2 women comparing notes on the same con artist. And as strange as it sounds, I left that cafe lighter. Stronger. Like I'd reclaimed a piece of myself I didn't even realize I'd lost. That night, I finally checked social media. Big mistake. Mutual friends had taken sides. Some quietly unfollowed me. Others sent support. His sister had posted a vague quote about private matters staying private. I smirked. Privacy is a luxury cheaters demand after they've destroyed your trust publicly. I didn't comment. Silence was louder. Days passed, then weeks. The intensity faded, but the lessons stayed sharp. I started noticing things again. The way my body felt without constant anxiety. The way my thoughts weren't consumed by someone else's approval. The way I slept better, ate better, laughed easier. Healing isn't dramatic, it's subtle. It shows up in the moments you don't miss someone who hurt you. One evening, my phone buzzed again. Another voicemail. This time his voice sounded different. Smaller, defeated. I came home today and there's nothing here, he said quietly. No couch, no table. It's empty. I deserve it. I know that now. I listened to the whole thing. Not because I cared, but because I wanted to hear it. Accountability, even delayed, has a sound. Then I blocked the number again. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The revenge had already done its job, not because he was uncomfortable, but because I was free. Time has a funny way of exposing the truth. Not all at once, not dramatically, but quietly, piece by piece. until one day you look back and realize the person who once had power over you doesn't anymore. Weeks turned into months. The noise died down. People stopped asking questions. His name stopped appearing on my phone. And slowly, almost without noticing, I stopped replaying the story in my head. Something unexpected happened during that time. She and I stayed in touch. At first, it was occasional check-ins. How are you holding up? Did he try contacting you again? But over time, those messages changed. They became lighter, fun, memes, random thoughts, complaints about work. It was strange, forming a connection out of shared betrayal. But there was something incredibly grounding about talking to someone who knew exactly what I'd been through without me having to explain it. We met again. Not to dissect him, but to talk about us, who we were before him, who we wanted to be after. She admitted something that stuck with me. I thought if I could just be better than you, he'd choose me. I felt my chest tighten. Because I'd thought the same thing in reverse. That's what men like him do. They don't just cheat. They pit women against each other in silence and let us blame ourselves. Naming that out loud felt like breaking a spell. Meanwhile, his life unraveled quietly. Mutual friends slipped details without realizing it. He was struggling. His parents were disappointed. His apartment felt empty, not just physically, but emotionally. I didn't celebrate it. I didn't need to. Karma doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives with long, lonely evenings and the realization that you did this to yourself. One night, I caught my reflection in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Not because I was broken, but because I looked calm, grounded, whole. The tension I'd carried for a year was gone. I wasn't bracing for lies anymore. I wasn't questioning my worth. And that's when it hit me. The furniture wasn't the revenge. The breakfast scene wasn't the revenge. Even the public exposure wasn't the real victory. The real revenge was that I no longer cared. He wanted closure. He wanted forgiveness. He wanted to rewrite the ending so he didn't have to be the villain in his own story. But healing doesn't require permission from the person who hurt you. It requires honesty with yourself. I learned to trust my instincts again, to listen when something feels off, to never shrink my truth to keep someone else comfortable. And the biggest lesson? Cheaters don't lose you. They lose the version of you that loved them unconditionally. And that loss is permanent. I didn't walk away angry. I walked away awake. Looking back, it all feels almost cinematic. That Thanksgiving morning, the texts, the voicemail from her, walking downstairs like nothing was wrong and detonating the wall. Truth in front of his family. The pounding silence. The way his face went pale as the words left my mouth. Every detail etched into my memory, but none of it defines me anymore. What defines me is what I did after. How I chose myself when someone else had tried to make me feel invisible. That's the real story. The revenge worked, yes. He ended. Up with an empty apartment, no furniture, no control. But the real victory was much quieter and much deeper. It was waking up the next day and realizing I didn't carry the weight of his lies. It was laughing over coffee with the other woman, realizing we were both victims, but now allies. It was being able to look at my reflection and see someone strong, smart, and unshakable. The furniture, the exposure, the dramatic walkout, those were icing on the cake. The cake was me reclaiming my life. People often ask me if I feel guilty about what I did, about taking the furniture, about telling his family, about making him face his actions head on, and my answer is always the same: no. Because revenge isn't about cruelty. It's about balance. It's about teaching the person who betrayed you that their choices have consequences. And sometimes, it's about proving to yourself that you are bigger than the pain inflicted upon you. Life didn't magically fix itself overnight. I still have moments where memories sneak in, where I question if I handled it perfectly. But the difference now is that I don't panic. I don't obsess. I analyze, I reflect, and then I move forward. And that's the real power, the kind that no cheater, no liar, no manipulator can ever take away. Freedom, peace, self-respect, and the knowledge that I will never tolerate betrayal again. So, if you're sitting there, hurt, angry, humiliated by someone who thought they could play you, remember this. You don't need to plot elaborate revenge. You don't need to make them suffer. The ultimate revenge is living well, thriving, and taking back every piece of yourself they tried to steal. Trust me, that satisfaction lasts far longer than any dramatic moment ever could. If this story gave you chills, made your jaw clench, or reminded you of someone who wronged you, smash that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and tell me, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories where betrayal meets justice, and where the people who hurt you are reminded that actions always have consequences. You deserve to see them get what's coming, and you deserve to move forward stronger than ever.